Hey guys, and welcome back to the Gerbil Vine. Thank you all so much for being here, for clicking on this video, and for subscribing to our channel. Every time you subscribe, you help us promote good gerbil care, so thank you guys all so much. We really appreciate all the love. So without waiting any longer, let's jump into today's video and start discussing what you should be housing your gerbils in. Gerbils belong in tanks. You cannot house them in any sort of plastic bin or any sort of critter trail or small home, with a 40-gallon tank being the preferred size for a pair. So for today, we will be comparing 3 common tank sizes that you often see used with gerbils. They are the 10-gallon, the 20-gallon, and the 40-gallon. I do happen to have all 3 of these tanks, and while I don't support housing your gerbil in anything under a 40-gallon, I do find them to be useful for many things, so I keep them around as spares. They are really great if you are cleaning your gerbil's current home and need somewhere to put them while you do that. If you have a sick or injured gerbil, if they have a falling out, or even if you need to travel. So I highly recommend investing in a smaller secondary tank if you're able to. Before I built my topper, I also used to use a small tank inside of my bigger tank so that I could give the gerbils a really deep burrowing area, and just to randomly switch up the layout, and it was really great for that too. What smaller tanks are not great for is permanently housing your gerbils in them. Now, the 10-gallon tank that I have measures 20 inches long by 10 inches wide by 12 inches high. That equals out to 200 square inches of floor space, which is unfortunately under the recommended size of 324 square inches of floor space per gerbil. Seeing that gerbils should be living in pairs, that is only about 100 square inches of floor space per gerbil, which is extremely tiny. We can see here how difficult it is to fit in proper sized hides and a 9-inch wheel. You can forget about adding an 11-inch wheel, which is the current size that I use for my boys, and the amount of bedding you can put in here is extremely limited. I know that some gerbil owners that use 10 gallons use them with a topper, and if I'm being honest, it doesn't make it much better. Sure, you can fill the bedding all the way up, about 11 or 12 inches, but most people don't do that. And if you did, there wouldn't be anywhere to put a wheel or sand bath, and placing a water bottle would be next to impossible with such high bedding. If you do manage to separate the area, there would not be enough width and length for them to make deep, long burrows. Having a small tank like this is highly unsuitable for your gerbils and can lead them to become stressed or aggressive due to their small environment. If you do have a 10-gallon, I would advise you to upgrade immediately, as this is simply too small a space to house even a single gerbil in. So I know that this is a gerbil channel, but in order to express to you all how much I truly despise the 10-gallon tank, here is a small story about my current hamster that I rescued from, drumroll please, a 10-gallon. Here's a picture of my sweet little Beanie, and as you can see, she came from a home with way too small a wheel, barely any bedding, and in a 10-gallon tank. It's extremely unfortunate and disheartening to me that most people who get an animal end up getting the smallest size home that they possibly can, but still believe that they are doing something good because the animal is out of a small cage in a pet store. But if you're taking that animal home and providing them with the same level of inadequate care, how are you better enriching their life? So I came across this ad for a hamster who was purchased on impulse, and once the girl realized that the hamster wasn't interested in interacting with her, or it slept most of the time, or was biting, likely due to the size of the small enclosure, she chose to rehome her. When I went to pick her up, the girl brought her down to me in a small cardboard box. I was not offered the tank, which made me extremely nervous because that led my brain to think that maybe they were going to go out and purchase another small animal to put in this 10-gallon tank, one that might be more social or more interested in them, which I don't see being the case long term, as a small environment is still a small environment, and animals are known to exhibit signs of stress in these environments. But as soon as I saw the picture of my sweet little Beanie, my heart broke. Even though it meant having to have a pet store hamster, I felt that I was doing the right thing, and I truly feel that I rescued her from a neglectful situation. A 5-inch wheel, barely any bedding, and a 10-gallon tank is a very horrible situation for any small animal to find themselves in. Beanie now lives in a random 36-gallon terrarium that I found secondhand off Kijiji, and she has over 450 square inches of floor space. She is an extremely chill and happy hammy, and her personality has been a complete 180 since the day that we got her. Having a small tank or having a large tank can really make all the difference in how you impact the animal's life, and I can officially speak on this firsthand. Please do not ever permanently house your gerbils, or any other small mammal for that matter, in a 10-gallon tank. It is inhumane, too small, and denies them the ability to do things that come naturally to them. So now that we know that the 10-gallon tank is unsuitable, what about the 20-gallon? Let's take a look. My 20-gallon tank measures out to 360 square inches of floor space. It is 30 inches long, 12 inches wide, and 12 inches high. Noting that I recommend a space of 324 square inches of floor space per gerbil, this technically meets that minimum and would be able to house a single gerbil based on the floor space alone. However, the problems arise when you have to start adding in their wheel, their sand bath, and begin dividing off the tank. Quickly, the amount of burrowing space that they will have will begin to disappear. If you had a topper for your 20-gallon tank and were able to fill the bedding all the way up to the top, I could see this being an okay option for a single gerbil, but still not something I personally would be comfortable using. But gerbils don't generally live alone, and unfortunately most people do not invest in toppers, as they can be more expensive than the actual tank, which means gerbils end up with the bare minimum in a small tank. Considering having a deep, long burrow space is arguably the most important aspect of a gerbil tank, a 20-gallon would also prove to be an unsuitable option. As you can see here, I can fit my 9-inch wheel and a hide, but the gerbils barely have any room for a tunneling area or their sand bath. Again, I am also unable to fit my 11-inch wheel in here as it is only 12 inches tall. A 20-gallon is also not an ideal home for your gerbil to live in. 20 gallons are often the standard size that people are comfortable with, but a 20-gallon is really only 160 square inches larger than a 10-gallon, and it is the same in width and height. Which brings us to our final tank, the 40-gallon. This is what my gerbils currently live in, and the only size tank I feel comfortable using as a standard housing size for gerbils. My tank is 36 inches long, 18 inches high, and 18 inches wide. It equals out to 648 square inches of floor space, and in my own opinion is the perfect size home for gerbils. The 40-gallon is preferred for its ability to allow deep burrowing depth and length. In a 40-gallon, you have more than enough space to divide the tank in order to have a wheel and sand bath and their water bottle without taking away an obscene amount of burrowing area. Because the tank is so tall, you can also add in an 8-inch platform to allow for the minimum burrowing height, have the bedding go all the way up to the top, and still fit in a 9-inch wheel on top of the platform. They may seem overwhelmingly big, but they are easier to clean than you think. I know that one of the biggest complaints about using a 40-gallon is the fact that it's too heavy and how are you supposed to lift it to clean it. I never have to take my 40-gallon into my bathtub to rinse it out. I have a couple cleaning videos on my channel, and if you've seen them, you know I just use a spray bottle filled with water and a face cloth to wipe down the tank. It's common when talking to people that are thinking about getting gerbils that when I bring up the 40-gallon, the complaint is always that it's too heavy. But honestly, you shouldn't have to move it or even really lift it up. I know I have it in over a year of having mine. As well as one of the other common issues is that they don't have enough space to house such a large tank. Again, an animal should not be bought because you have a small tank and a small space you need to fill. It should be with the animal's best interest at heart. Gerbil housing size matters, and I would not go lower than a 40-gallon tank. You can comfortably divide the tank to allow them enough burrowing space and still pile it 12 inches plus high. You can fit in a 9, 10, or 11-inch wheel in there and have room for their water bottle and sand. For us, it's even better as we decided to build a topper. That gives them almost 17 inches of bedding and allows the top to hold everything that would normally be buried in the bedding. My tank was over $200 and it cost me around $150 to build the topper, and we think it was well worth the investment. In conclusion, there are many sized homes that are advertised as being suitable for gerbils. As you guys have seen from this video today, you can house gerbils in these smaller homes, but you will end up compromising on something, and it will be the gerbils that end up suffering from this. You won't be able to provide them with the basics of a 9-inch wheel, 10 inches of bedding, or even a decent sized sand bath. Housing a gerbil in anything smaller than a 40-gallon tank to me is inhumane and shows that you are looking out for your own needs and your own space needs rather than looking out for the needs of the pet that you have. Gerbils are very interesting animals that really will benefit from a large and enriching environment. If you ever have any questions about upgrading or about housing size, please drop them down below and we will do our very best to help you answer them. So thank you all so much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and for really taking in and absorbing all of the information that we have put out on this channel. This is a huge passion of ours, and we appreciate each and every one of you so much for helping us spread around good care. As always, make sure that you like and subscribe so that you never miss our uploads. Thank you. Bye.